It should trouble you. It should frustrate you. It should also make you laugh because you and I are surrounded by people who are below average and then some. And that's on a good day. Here's a video. Watch this for a second.
There is one drink that leaches the magnesium and the calcium out of the body, and that is caffeine. Now, there was a bit of a groan last night when I mentioned this one. And most people don't realise that that coffee is a huge contributing factor to dehydration, to heart malfunction, and also to imbalance in heartbeats. So there are some things that have to stop if you want to keep the heart with all diligence, and one of them is caffeine, because of the way it leaches the magnesium out of the body. And as you can see by what I just described, magnesium is so important. Anyone that comes to me with high blood pressure, we do quite a few changes, but we always supplement with magnesium because it keeps that heart muscle at rest. You see, your systolic is your high point and your diastolic is your bottom one. It relaxes that diastolic and brings it down a little bit. And the Celtic salt can do that. But how often are people with high blood pressure told to what? No salt. When everyone at work is going out to get their coffee or their cigarette to get a boost, you just get your crystal of Celtic salt, put it on your tongue, have a glass of water, and you watch that little energy boost that you will get. And you won't get the drop like they will all get. They might get initial rise, but then there's always a corresponding.
If you already have high blood pressure, you need to be fucking careful taking sodium, taking more salt into your body to begin with. You need to be very, very fucking careful, even if it is this Celtic salt jazz. One of which a lot of people have shop around. And here, let me see. I think I have some somewhere. Give me a second. Specifically, Celtic salt, fine ground. Celtic salt by, what was it? Selena Naturally. Some sources claim it contains microplastics. I don't know if that's true necessarily, but you should look into it instead of buying into it. Now, the reason I jumped on here, let's see if we can
one drink that
shut the video up. I left a bunch of comments in here. Let me see if I can find the gal in particular. This girl. So she rattles off that it's total BS. I'm paraphrasing. She said that it depletes nutrients. LOL. I guess these days you can literally talk out of your ass and people will believe you, is what she says. The moderator of the account essentially says she probably drinks caffeine, and that might be why she's rattling off what she's rattling off. Somebody else said also blocks iron absorption. The gal continued, water also depletes nutrients. Would you say no one should drink it? I mean, she's not very bright. She's just generalizing, and she shouldn't have opened her mouth. She should have opened her eyes, which is usually what I'll rattle off to people. And then she goes on to say, and this is just one person, but there's a lot of people out there like this. Go to Italy, where they live the longest. They drink espresso multiple times a day and eat carbs and dairy and meat. So to that I responded, I think it's up here because it's out of context. Yeah. I said, what you failed to appreciate because you didn't open your eyes, instead you opened your mouth, is... Oh, and I'm talking about Barbara. I'm talking about the gal in the video, the older gal that stated that, caffeine leaches magnesium. Where am I at? I said, she comes from Australia, which is a crown colony. And yes, this is relevant. I whine about it a lot, but people don't realize these things. As is Canada, the United States, and New Zealand, just to name a few. What I'm getting at is all of these are related to being the bottom of the trilateral city-states, so to speak. America is the bottom of the trilateral city-states specifically because it's the District of Columbia. The others are also respective vassal colonies, crown colonies. They stand under the fucking crown, under the banking financial center that sits on the top of the trilateral city-states. As such, each one of these that I rattled off, they are testing beds. And most people haven't figured that out, even though we lived through 2020, and you saw the different testing stages in Canada, Australia, where Barbara comes from, and that's where she's essentially blacklisted, and then the wacky shit that went down in the States. But most people aren't connecting the dots. They're not thinking in terms of shit. Most people think these are countries. They think they're free countries. Not... Either way, I should shut the fuck up about that and get on with the point, because most people don't have a fucking clue what's going on. In each one of these testing beds, quote-unquote food is far from healthy, life-sustaining food, because people started calling it organic. It's social engineering buzzwords is what I'm getting at. And that opened up the door for genetically modified poison. What I'm getting at is people who live in these geographic regions don't have the same bacteria in their guts as many of the people in Europe, such as the example that gal rattled off. I'm talking about, what's it say, mortgage profit chick. That's what we'll call her, mortgage profit chick. And I said, this means caffeine will and does leach magnesium, among other things, from one's body, as our bodies aren't terribly healthy based on our diet. I live in the States. It's poison. I mean, you just go to a fucking grocery store and you're going to see chemicals, cleaning chemicals, typically speaking, and sometimes even the gardening chemicals in the very aisles, next door to the aisles where you're being sold supposedly life-sustaining food. It's no better than drinking something out of a plastic bottle. It's going to leach it. You're going to end up drinking some plastic if that heats up and cools down. The same applies to the fucking chemicals sitting in the goddamn grocery store next to your food. To limiting degrees, but it does happen. So let's dance back. Where are we at? I said, there's a lot of kids in here that don't understand how things work. One of the kids in here mentioned that coffee is a diuretic, which is why it depletes the body of magnesium, among other things. Damn, people are slow. They're painfully fucking stupid. You're going to be peeing out I won't read the others. I don't think I need to, but, well, hold on. What I'm getting at is the magnesium and the potassium. You're going to excrete that. You're going to get rid of that. Your body's going to kick that out so much quicker than it's going to get rid of that salt. That's also why I cautioned you against taking more salt if you have high blood pressure. Because if you got high blood pressure, you probably have too much salt in your body to begin with. And it can take up to 3 to 4 days to get rid of some of it. So if you've caked it in there, you really got to lay off the fucking salt. And what Barbara said could be detrimental to people who do have high blood pressure. And they're trying to get rid of this shit. They're trying to balance themselves out. It's not going to help them. Here's another thing. If you're on high blood pressure medication, don't take these other things. But if you're not on high blood pressure medication, you could take red sage or Dan Shen. And it will benefit your kidneys, your liver, your heart. Yeah? If you're not on high blood pressure medication, you could alternate that, or at least skip a couple days, go without, and then also take, hawthorn berry, which is great for your heart. You could do that too, but I don't recommend doing it on the same day. I mean, stagger these things. And remember, I'm not a doctor. You could figure this shit out for yourself too. There are nothing but answers to reality, but most people aren't thinking for themselves. To that point, I said, keep in mind, Google is no longer a search engine. It's a tool of propaganda. But even a superficial Google search for the superficial kids who scoffed at this video have this information, and it should say at their disposal, if only they use their brains. So the quote on there, you could look up. It says, quote unquote, coffee and magnesium levels. When you drink coffee, your intestinal absorption of magnesium decreases. Although the coffee does not directly deplete magnesium from your body, the decreased absorption of magnesium can cause your body to gradually lose magnesium, potentially resulting in a magnesium deficiency. So the more you do this, the worse it gets, and the harder it is to reel it back. That's the long story short. But Jesus fucking Christ, people are painfully fucking stupid these days. As always, what the fuck do I know? And I think I left some other stuff in here too. You could read if you want. Take a screenshot. I'm done. Good night.